We're always hearing that we need to raise standards, whether it's in business, sports, or especially in our schools. But how do you actually do that? Well, today we're going to dive into a really powerful tool that honestly gets misunderstood a lot: coaching. In this quote, it just gets right to the heart of the whole problem. For so long, the go-to method was top-down inspection and control, the classic clipboard approach. But that model is really showing its limits. The idea we're exploring here is that a more supportive, more structured approach, actual coaching, is the real key to unlocking improvement. Okay, so before we can even talk about a solution, we have to be super clear on the problem itself. The word standards gets thrown around all the time, but what are we really talking about when it comes to education?
Yeah, it's not just one simple thing. It's actually this whole complex mix, right? It's the quality of the teaching in the classroom. It's making sure the tests and assignments are fair and reliable. And at the end of the day, it's about whether students are actually learning what they're supposed to. It's about creating quality and consistency across the entire system. That's the mountain we're trying to climb here.
And that brings us to a different path entirely. If that top-down control isn't really the answer, then what is? Let's take a look at how coaching offers a way to build up that quality from the inside out, instead of trying to force it from the outside in. Now, it is absolutely crucial to get this part right. Coaching isn't just a friendly chat or a quick pep talk. It's a very specific, very structured process. It's all about dialogue, asking really powerful questions, and guiding people to find their own solutions. It is not about just telling them what to do. And here is the fundamental difference. Think of it like this. Mentoring is often like someone giving you a map and telling you where to go. It's directive. Coaching, on the other hand, is non-directive. It's about teaching you how to read any map for yourself. A mentor gives answers. A coach asks the questions that help you find your own. That distinction, it's everything. So why is this question-based approach so incredibly powerful? Well, the theory points to three main reasons. First, it creates a space for people to seriously reflect on what they're doing. Then, that reflection builds self-efficacy, that deep-down belief that, hey, I can actually do this. And when people feel capable and empowered, they take ownership. That creates this culture of distributed leadership, where everyone feels responsible for keeping the standards high. That all sounds great in theory, right? But what about the evidence? Does coaching actually move the needle on how well teachers teach and how well students learn? To answer that, we can look at this huge piece of research from 2018. It's a meta-analysis, which is basically a study of studies. It pulled together the results from 60 different experiments on teacher coaching to see what the overall big picture effect really was. And the results were, well, they were seriously impressive. An improvement of nearly half a standard deviation in teaching practice. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but in education research, that is a huge deal. It's the kind of jump in quality that you could literally see and feel if you walked into that classroom. It's a real, tangible improvement. So what about the students? Well, the research shows that this better teaching translated directly into better student results. A gain of 0.18 standard deviations is a meaningful academic boost. So the takeaway is crystal clear. When you coach teachers well, the students directly benefit.
But, and this is a really important but, the research also shows that not all coaching is created equal. To get these kinds of results, it can't just be a one-off chat. It has to be intensive. It has to be sustained over time. It needs to be focused on a specific subject, and it has to be anchored in what's actually happening in the real classroom.
Here's a great real-world example of what that looks like. In this process, a group of lecturers worked together to get more consistent with how they graded a big assignment. They didn't just talk about it. They dug into the rubric, they analyzed real student work, and then they actually practiced how they'd explain it all. That is coaching anchored in reality, and it led to much more consistent and fair results for students. Okay, so far, coaching sounds like a miracle cure, doesn't it? But like any powerful tool, it can be misused. So we need a little reality check here. Let's explore the pitfalls and see what happens when good coaching goes bad. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Is coaching some kind of silver bullet for education? The answer, to be blunt, is a hard no. The context and how it's implemented, well, that's everything. The source for this explainer gives us this fantastic word from when coaching goes wrong: judgmentoring. This is what happens when a process that's supposed to be a safe space for learning gets twisted into a tool for evaluation.
The second a coach starts acting like a judge, all the trust evaporates, vulnerability is gone, and real reflection, it becomes impossible. It just poisons the well.
And this slide just lays it out so clearly. You've got two paths an organization can take. On the left, all the ways to ruin coaching. Tie it to performance reviews, make people do it in their own unpaid time, use it to audit them. And on the right, you see what it takes to succeed. A purely developmental focus, dedicated time and resources, and most importantly, creating a safe space for genuine learning.
So, given all those risks, how do we actually make sure that coaching delivers on its promise? How do we build those conditions for success?
The final verdict is pretty clear, but it comes with a massive if. Yes, coaching can absolutely improve standards, but only if organizations are really deliberate and thoughtful about how they do it. You can't just slap up a poster that says we have a coaching culture and expect magic to happen. You have to build it.
So how do you make it work? It really boils down to a few core commitments. First, you have to fiercely protect it from performance management. Keep them separate. You have to resource it with time and money. You have to align it with what actually matters for students. And you have to truly value it as a core part of professional growth, not just some cheap add-on initiative.
And when you do all of that, you get to this incredibly powerful idea. Coaching stops being some extra thing you do and becomes a fundamental engine for quality. It becomes the way standards are actually understood, put into practice, and improved every single day by the people on the front lines. And that really leaves us with a final thought to take away. Whether you're in education or any other field, just think about your own world for a second. How could you create and protect those safe spaces for real learning, away from the constant pressure of performance metrics? It's a question that's definitely worth asking. Thanks for tuning in.